You're listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. I am your host, Al Mega, CEO of Comic Crusaders and Undercover Capes. In this show, I'm sitting down with creators from all walks of life to talk about inspiration, process, the lessons they've learned, and a whole lot more.
Hey, yo, all right. Grab the mic, turn the lights up, and cue the hype music because this one deserves a proper stage. When the conversation turns to comics history, editorial brilliance, and pushing culture forward inside the pages of mainstream comics, my guest here is one of those names that echoes through the halls of the industry. Editor, writer, producer, talent advocate, cultural architect. The man has helped shape the DNA of modern comics, from his influential time over at Milestone Media to editorial work across DC Comics and beyond. And now, oh man, he's back in the thick of it with something that hits right at the heart of comics history. And it's this brand new anthology comic one-shot, new history of the DC universe, the Dakota Incident numero uno. It digs into one of the most fascinating corners of the DC mythology, Dakota City, home of the legendary Milestone characters like Static, Icon, Rocket, Hardware, and the entire groundbreaking wave of heroes that changed the way comics approach representation, culture, and real-world storytelling. Now, this book isn't just another story. It's a reflection of legacy. It's a look at how the Milestone universe intersects with the broader DC mythos and why Dakota's heroes still matter in a world that desperately needs them. So today on the Comic Crusaders podcast, let me tell you, we're not just talking comics. We're talking history, culture, evolution, and the power of storytelling to reshape an industry. Ladies and gentlemen, Comic Crusaders family, let's welcome the one and only, the big boss himself, Joe Illidge. What's poppin', homie? How you doing?
Feeling great, Al. Thank you for that kind introduction. Feeling very good.
Man, as you should, man. I just got the wonderful news, as I mentioned in the green room, that this issue, that's it, going full charge, second print, 2 days, before my birthday, April double deuce. I can't wait. What a gift for my birthday.
Wow.
This. So yeah, I'm excited, man. It's like it's incredible to see the reception and everything for this book, as I was telling you in the green room. I'm excited. I like to see what I'm seeing right now. I have been an advocate for Milestone for years since I was
you have.
And, I've always mentioned, hey, if we want the, color and everything, representation, it's been there. Stop changing stuff, and thank God. I guess the youth is waking up, and that's also due to something you did, a wonderful campaign. You were rocking it on the socials. You were spreading the message, and it succeeded. The community listened, and I love that. Sometimes all it takes is call to action, and let people know if you want something that bad, you'll support what we have right here, and I dig that. So Joe, let's get it. But I gotta ask, because when you first fell in love with comics as a kid, right? Did you ever imagine that one day you'd be helping shape like the history of the DCU itself?
No way. When I was a kid in the 70s, and I was reading Superboy and a Legion of Superheroes, and my aunt introduced me to the X-Men, and wherever you looked, any superhero team you looked, there was only one token black character. It was like Falcon in the Avengers, and Storm in the X-Men, and Tyrock in the Legion of Superheroes. You never could have told me that one day I would be working in this business, being a part of this community. And so, listen, this is bonkers in the best way. And, my gratitude will always go to the founders of Milestone Media, who gave me a shot in 1993 at their groundbreaking company, and, brought me in and, showed me my purpose, and so the mission has been never ending.
let me ask you, because your journey through comics is wild, right? Editor, writer, creative executive, cultural advocate. I mean, if someone made a comic book about Joe Illidge's career, the origin story, what would issue number 1 look like?
Oh my goodness. That would be, oh my God. I think that would be a 12-issue maxi series like Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Format, right?
Worlds will live, worlds will die. The universe as we know it will never be the same again because it's been quite a journey. I think it would have to be a graphic novel. I hope it would be accessible for kids as well as adults.
You hope.
For real. Like, I wish there was a static comic when I was a kid because I see a lot of myself in Virgil Hawkins. I needed a hero like that. I didn't have it. Guess the closest thing I have was my mom because my mom was always there and she was always keeping on no matter what as a single parent because my dad died before my teenage years. And so, but having been there when the month I started interning at Milestone was May 1993. That's the month that Static #1 hit comic book stores. So I was there, the emergence of Static into the world. And it was such an amazing time. 1993 was such an amazing year. It wasn't just birth of Milestone. Like it was the birth of the Wu-Tang Clan. I mean,
I graduated high school, and I remember the whole madness with everything, the Milestone, the image, the music, the fashion. Man, we were
Come on. The culture was all over the place, like Biggie Smalls, like Notorious B.I.G., like his sound
Brooklyn
was all throughout the Milestone offices. Come on. So that's it.
Good times, man. Good times. Now, in your story, in this graphic novel or maxi series, as you say, who are the villains and mentors that shape the story?
Oh my God. That's a long list, but I'll tell you as many names as I can remember offhand. So, you start with the Milestone founders, Derek T. Dingle, Dennis Cowan, Dwayne McDuffie, and Michael Davis. You then go to Denny O'Neil, who was Batman group editor, one of the most influential Batman writers in the history of the character.
Agreed.
Lifestyle and martial arts guru and great novelist Stephen Barnes. Transmedia guru, brilliant and intelligent, understanding of mythology and storytelling, Jeff Gomez. I mean, those are like at the top. There are some people from outside of comics, but though, and listen, let me not forget in terms of a writing mentor, overall like story mentor, like unofficially, because he's kind of tricky. Like he doesn't mean to be, but he is who he is. So whenever he talks, you're soaking in wisdom, and that's Christopher Priest.
Oh yeah, he's the man. Yeah, I love Chris. Yes.
Yeah.
Him.
In
the elevator. That was such a fun conversation. He was just straight up with me, and like that's the real dude. I love him, man.
You met Priest?
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. He's someone to experience. And I'm gonna give one more shout out because I just remembered him. John Nee, who founded Cryptozoic Entertainment, and one time was the publisher of Marvel Comics, and one time worked at Wildstorm Entertainment. He has dropped kernels of wisdom in my ear, which I remember to this day.
Wonderful. Look at that. You see all those shout outs that made the man that Joe is today, that's bringing forth this new renaissance with Milestone, which again, I'm very happy. Now, obviously, Milestone Media did change the landscape of the comics in the 90s, but when you look back now, how revolutionary do you feel that moment was, in the industry?
I mean, it was, listen, we say terms like groundbreaking. The 90s literally did break the ground of the industry, right? When you're talking about Black comics, you're talking about I mean, when you just talk about comics in general, right? So what is defined as a black age of comics, within that, you had Big City Comics with Brother Man, you had Milestone Comics, you had Tertel Onley, God rest his soul, who coined and started the official black age of comics. You had publishers like Ania. As you go wider into comics, you had Chaos Comics, founded by Brian and Francesca Polito. You had Jim Shooter, who left Marvel and would launch Valiant Comics. You had the Malibu Ultraverse, right? And then even within all of that, I think that was when Dark Horse really started to explode. So the 90s, the early 90s, was just this explosive time of creativity and entrepreneurship, and basically people creating the kind of comics that they felt the industry was missing.
Yeah, so it was a good time for sure. Again, I remember me working in Manhattan at that time and picking up my Valiants and new titles that somebody was putting me onto. I went to the comic shop and I'm like, what is that? Oh, you don't know? The next thing you know, we're in that comic shop. We got to work late, like over an hour, because we were just bullshitting.
Wow.
And he's showing me all these different things. I'm like, well, they don't got these books in Brooklyn, because Brooklyn, hey, they got the Marvel, DCs, Archies, the shop I was going to, the basic books. I discovered indie because of that dude in the late 90s. So ever since, obviously, I've been a fan of indie. Now, for fans who might not fully grasp it yet, right, they don't understand, why is Dakota City such a culturally important place in comics history?
So it's a number of reasons, right? The Dakota City, which is where the Milestone superheroes live. First off, it was the first truly inclusive superhero universe in terms of cultural representation, in terms of diverse sexual lifestyle, in terms of people with disabilities. It went the full gamut in how it showed life. To call it Black comics, it was actually more than that.
I hated that.
It was world comics. Listen, when you look at the Blood Syndicate, there was so much Latino and Hispanic presence in the Blood Syndicate.
When you
look at how the Blood Syndicate explored different sexual lifestyles. The next time you would see something like that would be decades later with like the CW's Legends of Tomorrow, right? It's like Milestone was doing all these things in the early 90s. I think where they really changed things worldwide was their character Static being turned into a cartoon by WB Animation. That cartoon launched in the year 2000. It was called Static Shock, and Static Shock went 4 seasons. It won a bunch of awards. It showed the reality of life for a young Black man, superhero, superpowered or otherwise. And that is the series that would lead Dwayne McDuffie to go from comics to animation. He would then go on to do groundbreaking work on Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, where he made John Stewart the Green Lantern, which led to the first interracial kiss seen in animation in American TV between John Stewart Green Lantern and Hawk Girl.
Wow,
right?
It took that long. It's so crazy.
Listen, and thus John Stewart became the Green Lantern of an entire generation. Which you can take a straight line from Justice League Unlimited to the upcoming Lantern show with Aaron Pierre as John Stewart. And today they just announced that John Stewart Green Lantern will be appearing in the second James Gunn Superman film, Man of Tomorrow. Dwayne McDuffie, right? From Milestone to animation to beyond his time on this earth, his impact, not counting the work he did on Ben 10, not counting the fact that in an industry that was mostly culturally monolithic, Dwayne McDuffie brought Black writers into animation, from Jeffrey Thorne to Brandon Easton, who was recently the showrunner on Ianu, Child of Wonder. Like, the impact was far and wide from Milestone in ways that are too numerous to list here, but I feel like the coalescence point was the Static Shock cartoon.
And Static, what a tune that was. Yeah, I was older, but I don't care. I'm a big kid, and I was watching that when it dropped because again, that's something I would see normally. I didn't see that growing up hardly, you know. Again, I mean, the only time I remember seeing like, you know, dark colored characters, you know, black characters was the Harlem Globetrotters in the Scooby-Doo cartoon.
Bingo.
You know what I mean?
Bingo. Or these like rare cartoons like Super Stretch and Micro Woman or the Super
Jackson 5 too cartoons.
You know, right? But yeah, like Rickety Rocket, you know, but in terms of a character that they were the name character of their own cartoon, Static Shock was the first. Man. And through Static Shock, we get Miles Morales and the Spider-Verse, right?
Yeah, man. And I agree that Static should be in that place of where Miles is in regard to, you know, that status, man, because Static did it first. He was here. And he had that cartoon, that character. And I'm glad that, you know, the way that again, folks, read the new history, man. My man about to step up. It's about to change, and plus they have that dope series, the Batman Beyond with the Static Beyond. Joel.
Yeah, Batman Static Beyond we got going right now, bro. Yeah.
I mean, listen. Thank you for pushing these characters to the forefront. We need that. So now we're talking about this project. All right.
Yes.
New history of the DC universe, the Dakota Incident, bro. What was that moment when the idea clicked and you said, "Oh yeah, we're about to make some noise"?
You know, it's interesting because so DC Comics editor Marquise Draper, who's really been carrying the torch for Milestone for the last 5 years, he called a number of us together like almost a year ago and brought together the writer's room. And he had an intention, like there was something that he wanted to accomplish, but he said, okay, let's all build the story together. DC senior editor Brittany Holzer was there. Mark Waid was there for the first few meetings since Mark Waid wrote the 4-issue new history of the DC Universe series. And so first we had to crack the story, and that takes time. You know, in the beginning, you may have a thin idea. You start throwing things against the wall to see what sticks. Mark and Brittany were able to help us navigate the DC universe. Since the Milestone characters are now in the DC universe, you have to navigate through the DC universe. You have to make sure that you don't step on the toes of the Batman office or the Superman office or, you know, whatever. And so when we cracked the story, we started working on it. You know, myself, co-writers Stephanie Williams, Morgan Hampton, and Nicholas Draper Ivy, we started working on our scripts. And then we hit a moment where we realized, oh, that's what this story is about. Like the story is this, but it's really about this, right? And then we just ran into it. We said, okay, let's do that. Because in the tradition of Milestone, you know, Milestone stories, some of the most memorable ones have always been metatextual. They've always been a great story that in some ways is metatextual and talking about itself in another context, right? Static Shock, Rebirth of the Cool by Dwayne McDuffie and John Paul Leone and team. The very first issue of Hardware, the first 3 issues of Icon, you know. So we realized upon discovering the second layer of this story that we were following in the tradition of Milestone. And so we leaned into it, man. We leaned into it.
Beautiful. That's what I want to hear. Yep, and there we go. Kids Me Comics. Love Static. It was the door that opened. He's the creator himself right there. So great. Of course, see, people don't understand. This is the type of stuff we need in our life that does inspire us. You know,
that's it.
Not to say that other characters don't, but sometimes seeing, you know, something with a little shade of us does help, and open eyebrows, like your eyes will be like, yo, what's this? Hold up.
It makes a difference to have some kind of reflection of yourself in the world, right?
Absolutely, like right there, my first George Perez work, Deathlock. I got the first appearance of White Tiger. You know, the first Puerto Rican, which is in the 70s.
Listen,
You know,
come
I
on,
got my
those were
drawing.
great times. White Tiger, the Sons of the Tiger, the Daughters of the Dragon, Deadly Hands of Kung Fu.
Yeah.
Like Marvel's martial arts comics were bananas. And then you're talking about George Perez. George Perez, it's one of my profound regrets that I never got to meet him and tell him how he impacted my life, because he was the first comic book artist that made me understand that this was art. Like, it was an art.
Yeah.
Right. And he was at the pinnacle of that.
Yes.
George Perez could draw anything. And I admired George Perez before I even thought about George Perez's ethnicity. Right. I was like,
yeah,
this guy is an amazing artist. And he himself was groundbreaking, right? As a Latino artist.
Yes.
You know, he was groundbreaking. And
here in the States, because, you know, Puerto Rico on the islands, unfortunately, if you're a comic book artist, that's not a job. You draw cartoons, that's not professional. You know,
right. When you're gonna get a real job.
Do you know who this is? Do you know who you're talking to right now?
This guy, man, of such supernatural skill. But yeah, so you know, it's funny you mentioned Deathlock. You know, my dad was not a fan of the superhero comics, but he was a fan of Deathlock, Sergeant Rock, Jonah Hex, and Scalp Hunter.
Okay.
So it's through my dad that I first discovered Deathlock. When I first saw Deathlock, I was like, wow, this looks kind of strange. But then, of course, Dwayne McDuffie and Dennis Cowan would do Deathlock, and it was over, right? And from there, they would found the creative relationship that would lead to Milestone and them taking it to the next level with Hardware #1, right?
Yeah, man. Hardware, dope. I love that book too. That was a wild book too. Hardware was a wild book, and it was the art too. It was just so different then. Again, groundbreaking, like you say, it was different. People had to, I don't think people understood what they were looking at. They didn't know how to accept it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's again, good times. Now, Milestone characters like Static, Icon, Rocket, Hardware, they weren't just superheroes. They were reflections, as you said, of real community. Now, how important was it to keep that authenticity while revisiting Dakota in this story?
You know, it was crucial because we're dealing with 2 generations of Milestone fans. We're dealing with the fans of OG Milestone from the 90s, right? We could actually say 3 generations. The fans that discovered Milestone through the Static Shock cartoon and then made their way to the comics. And then the fans of the 2000 and the 2021 relaunch called Milestone Returns. And so we're dealing with those 3 fans, and we're actually dealing with a 4th layer, which are people who through this comic book are discovering the Dakotaverse of superheroes for the first time. I have spoken to a number of people, whether it's signings or whether on social media like Threads, who said this was their discovery of the Milestone heroes. And so it is crucial, it is of high importance to maintain the core tenets of these characters. And by maintaining their core tenets, you keep their integrity, right? Through various permutations. Hardware is hardware, Rocket is Rocket, Static is Static, Icon is Icon, the Blood Syndicate are the Blood Syndicate. And so it was crucial to maintain that. And I think part of the brilliance of what Marquise Draper did in creating the writer's room was taking the new generation of Stephanie, Morgan, and Nicholas and putting them with myself, the OG from early Milestone, and the 4 of us. Well, first off, we've all known each other for years and we're like-minded people, but working together as a writer's room was really a special experience. And there was no ego, right? It wasn't like who's smarter than who knows the characters better than who. It was about clarity of character, the importance of this story. And it's like, whoever has the best idea, dope, let's vibe off of that. Let's take your idea and let me retrofit backwards to improve my script to connect to something you did or someone else retrofit forward. Like, that's creative collaboration. That's jamming. That's the kind of innovation that you cannot quantify. That's where the magic happens. Beyond the science of the craft of writing is the magic of collaboration. And that's before you even get to these artists. I mean, dude, for real, the group of artists, lettering, coloring, cover artists that we had on this book.
Yeah, man, I got some of the covers. I got some of the covers that got
this guy right here, Diego Olortegui. I'm hoping I'm getting his name right. I mean, just look at the design brilliance of that cover, right?
Oh, yeah, man.
He's got the vertical stacks, DC characters on the left, Milestone characters on the right. He's got the horizontal stacks, Superman icon, Wonder Woman, Rocket, Batman, Static, Hardware kind of there in the middle, because, you know, Hardware is like a clever player, and Lex Luthor in the middle, and how it frames the new history of the DC Universe logo. I mean, that is a brilliant composition, man. Give this man's flowers.
That's a gorgeous cover. And then we got this one. It reminds me of the new 52 John.
Yeah.
Okay.
From the Maxi Series 52. That cover was done by Yasmin Putri, who did DC's Dark Knights of Steel. That was written by Tom Taylor. So that cover is just brilliant, right? This one here was a jam cover with Dennis Cowan, Milestone co-founder, who drew the Superman figure, Dan Jurgens, who drew the Icon figure, Klaus Janson, who did all and brought it together.
I dig it. So they flipped their characters. And
Exactly.
Love it.
Yes. This one.
This is goes hard, though.
Carlo Paguglion, who was the artist on Superman Lost, written by Christopher Priest, as well as the main artist on Deathstroke the Terminator, when it was written by Christopher Priest. I mean, when I was at Bulletproof Comics here in Brooklyn for my very first signing, that cover ran out the fastest.
It's look at this,
dude. It's bonkers. That's my desktop wallpaper. It's bonkers,
bro. This is just gorgeous, and this shows, you know, here we go, Black Power, you know, superhero style, baby.
Bingo.
That's what this shows right there. What?
Bingo. Oh, and then this one,
this is sexy.
by Sway, Joshua Swaby. You know, first off, Rocket just looks so powerful, right? I feel like Black women look at that, and that's how they want to be portrayed, as powerful people of agency. And she's giving you that look like she knows she's dope. She's dope.
Oh yeah, I see.
She's like, she knows.
She's saying, "Come on, baby, try me out."
Yeah, exactly. Like, mess with me. I'm already cracking the ground, and I got my fist glowing. You come, I'm gonna knock your ass out. And you know what's also cool is now these creators who have done the Milestone characters for the first time, and to a breathtaking degree, they're now part of the Milestone family. I've told them, I'm like, Sway, you now part of the Milestone family.
You're adopted.
Diego, you now part of Milestone family. It's like, that's it. So it's just great to see all these people come together for this book. You know?
And there were your signing events, because you were definitely, folks, remember I told you early on, my man was hustling. Look at these events, man. My man was out there. Your hand must have been cramping, bro.
Dude, you know? It was so crazy. At one point, I got froggy voice, and my wife was like, wear a mask. And I was like, I'm not sick. And she's like, wear a mask. So I did for 2 of the signings, but I was out there signing books, meeting people, and it was great because people were buying books for other people as gifts. They were like, sign this one out to my sister, sign this one out to my friend, sign this one out to my mother. And I was just like, oh my God, like, this is part of the joy of the industry, like people discovering, people giving gifts. Because I'm like, come on, man, someone gives you a comic book as a gift. You're like, that's cool. I'm gonna read that. What's this about? You know?
Oh, hell yeah, shit.
Great.
I always tell people to do that. Give a gift of read. Listen, I hear how they say it's comic book reading. Of course it is. And it just helps your mental with the visuals. You know, come on,
listen,
man. Get out of here.
You best believe we're putting out some good stories out there. We're putting out some brain food and some heart food. You know what I mean?
So let them know what, without spoilers, of course. Like, what kind of ripples has this story sent through the DCU?
This story really kicks off the new age of Milestone heroes because of the journey that Static goes through from the beginning of the story to the end of the story. And it's a story that, while it was first started almost a year ago, it very much has echoes of the world we live in today. And it's really about standing your ground, making sacrifices, and how people are inspired and affected by having super heroism emerge in their city. You know, so it's a 40-page saga. Like, we've been told by a number of people, y'all could have done 4 issues of this. How did y'all pack it into 40 pages? And all I have to say is, you know, it took a lot of skill and a lot of love, but that's another thing, right? Like, aren't you tired of those comics that you read it in 8 minutes and then you put it down and then it doesn't stick with you? It doesn't stick with you.
Preach!
This story sticks with you.
Thank you.
This story sticks with you. It weighs on you. It makes you feel things. It may make you feel hope. It may make you feel rage. It makes you feel things. And that's what we want from stories. We want stories that will get people talking so we can have conversations, right? That's what we want. So I'm so proud to have been part of this endeavor to make a comic book that celebrates the legacy of Milestone, puts respect on the legacy of the DC universe, and really honors all of comics, right? And honors the capability through which to mobilize people to show support for the kind of books they want to see published. Right? So it's been a time, you know, the Dakota Incident 100K challenge that I, you know, initiated, and I got the support of my co-writers, was a way to communicate to people, if you want a Static ongoing series, because I understand your frustration. Static has not been in an ongoing series since 1997, when the 45th issue of Volume 1 came out with a cover by Mobius, the deity, right? And so fans were frustrated. Like, why can't we get a Static ongoing?
Yeah.
And, you know, you could see it, right? And we're at this very crucial moment in the Black consumer fan base and Black comics and Black creators. And so, you know, I said, okay, if you want that, this is how you have to do it. You have to understand that DC is a publisher. It's a publisher owned by Warner Brothers Discovery, which is a mega corporation. And love for Static, affection for Static is not enough. Frustration regarding Static is not enough, right? A plea is not enough. What will be enough will be sales that provides data, that shows demand, that cannot be ignored. And so the Dakota Incident 100K challenge was a challenge for the community to sell 100,000 copies of this book. That's the community of fans, retailers, supporters, collectors, all of it, because 100,000 copies is a number that cannot be ignored. You cannot ignore that number, because that number is hard to achieve these days. Only Absolute Batman achieves a number like that on a regular basis, and Absolute Batman is a phenomenon. So if we can achieve what a phenomenon achieves, then we can demand the Static ongoing series, right? And so, listen, the first printing of this book sold out worldwide in 5 days.
Amazing.
Comes out
Amazing.
on Wednesday. By Monday, you're not finding it anywhere. We just got word that not only was it the #1 collectible comic on the website coverprice.com, but the sales data came in for the month of February, and it was in the top 50 sales of comics measured by dollars. It was number 44. We outsold Wolverine, dude.
Nice. Yeah, baby. Beautiful.
And all of you did that. And because of that, we just got the announcement of the second printing with a Dan Mora cover. Dan Mora.
Oh my God,
is basically
Dan Mora,
the quintessential DC Universe artist of our time. So for him to do a cover is a statement. And you've seen the cover; it's bonkers, right?
And I
listen,
Dan, bro. Oh shit!
Listen, that dude is dope. I sent my retailer a text. I said I'm pre-order 20 copies for the Dan Mora cover, because with the first printing, I pre-ordered 50 copies. My stack is like right over here, right there. It's like because I wanted to show the people I can't ask you to do something I won't do myself. So I was like, I will pre-order copies. I will vote for my book. I will vote for this. I will vote for the team. I will vote for Static in the future of Milestone, right?
Yeah,
and that's it.
I'm about to pull up that cover. I got the email, but Google has not been playing friendly on Friday the 13th. I'm gonna murder this thing. If I had a neck,
Google is superstitious.
That's wild. But I mean, I swear that's what I feel. Now, you were talking about having conversations, right? Yes. Milestone obviously was famous for mixing superhero action with real world social themes. Yes. In today's climate, do those stories feel even more relevant today than ever before?
Equally, I think the world has no problem giving us things to talk about in art. Let's just leave it at that. The world will not allow us to be bored or complacent. And so just as the world required us to have it in our comics in 1993 when Milestone launched, and in 2021 when it relaunched, it begs that of us today. And so that's what we're going to do, because, when Dwayne and Priest and the other founders conceived of Milestone, they really looked at the Marvel Age of Comics from like 1962 to 1968. So basically, Fantastic Four 1 from Fantastic Four 100 and everything that came during those times. That's the Marvel Age of Comics, right? That's the world outside your window. That's when Stan Lee was out there preaching the gospel of Marvel. That's when some of the greatest artists that ever hit comics were bringing these stories to life. That's when, my God, every issue or 3 issues, Jack Kirby was like creating new things. Here's Galactus and the Silver Surfer. Here's the Inhumans. Here's Black Panther and Wakanda's. Like, here's the Frightful Four. Like, how do you keep coming up with these characters every month? Right? It was amazing. And so Milestone looked to that truth of the world, that with power comes responsibility, that when you gain something, whether it's power, whether it's fortune, whether it's knowledge, it doesn't make your life easier. It makes your life harder.
Yeah.
You're tested more when you gain more, right? That's at the core of the human experience. That was at the core of the truth of early Marvel Comics, and that's what's at the core of Milestone.
There you go. Now, brother, let's talk legacy.
Yeah.
When people look back 20 years from now, at the Milestone revival and the stories like this one, today, what do you hope they say about its impact?
I hope they say what a number of people said when the first Milestone came out. I hope they say, I'm gonna go make some.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go make some comics. I'm gonna go make my own comics. Like, Static is dope. I want to make a dope superhero. That's what, I would hope, is that this is an activation time for, you know, a new wave of creators, right? And it's interesting because, you know, the first Milestone, which is now 33 years old in terms of their publication anniversary, look at the Black comics movement you have now. It is absolutely explosive. It is omnipresent. Yes. The Black indie movement is everywhere. Milestone was one of the beacons. It was one of the pillars that led to that. So look at what we're seeing now, 33 years later. Imagine what we're going to see in 20 years. That's what I'm hoping for. I hope I'm alive and healthy to see that.
Well, I seen you in New York Comic Con, how you take care of yourself. You're gonna outlive me, Joe.
listen, I'm doing my best. You know, I get to the gym here and there, but I always try to eat right. You know, my wife and I, we cook a lot, and even if I go out, I'm like, okay, that red velvet cake looks good, but you know, you'll regret it tomorrow. So wait until your birthday to have some cake. So yeah, man, I'm trying to, you know,
You're not trying, you're doing, man. You're doing.
Thank you.
Now,
thank you.
Let me ask you this question, right?
Yes.
If you could sit down with the great, and may he rest in power, Dwayne McDuffie today, right? What would you want him to see about how Dakota's legacy is continuing?
Wow. You know, I think what I would say is that it wasn't for nothing. The battles that you fought weren't for nothing. They were for something, right? And that's it. You know, I would want him to revel in it, you know, with his wife, and I would want him to meet all this how many people he inspired, how many companies came into being because of him, careers that came into being because of him. I mean, it would, you know, I would want him to revel in that. So he's not here, so we'll revel in it for him. You know,
absolutely
we will look at this time and smile and be like, this is an exciting time, man. This is an exciting time in comics. This is an exciting time in cultural comic book movements, right? And even with everything the world is throwing at us, the stories that we create, they are part revolution, they're part resistance, they're part coping, they're part our communicating with each other, and they're part our messages in a bottle to the next generation of what we had to endure and how we came out of it together.
Yeah, that's the proud of McDuffie, man, for real.
100%.
All right, so let me ask you, because we're talking about, you know, success. You know, you've had, you know, plenty of it. You've been in the game a minute, Joe. But every creator has had a moment where things almost didn't work out, right? Did you ever have a moment maybe in your career where you thought, damn, maybe this comics thing is just not going to work out?
Multiple.
We're psychos, I know. That's everything.
Listen,
we're all psychos when we're in something. We're like, oh God.
Well, listen, for real. You know, our lives are icebergs. Most people just see what's above the water. They don't see most of what's below. And, you know, I've gotten knocked down a number of times, right? And I was blessed that I had mentors and friends and, you know, my wife and people, and something inside me that just didn't want to stay down. So it's like, okay, you've got to come back. You got to come back smarter. You got to come back a little wiser. You got to come back with a little more humility. You know what I mean? Dwayne's death, you know, first it broke me and then it galvanized me. And I was like, okay, like, you know, like like, you know, my man said in that Breaking Bad episode to Walter, like, no more half measures, right? It's like, okay, I'm going back and there's no more half measures. I am not going to take mercy on this industry. We are not going to be swept on the rug. I am going to be the scalpel that is going to expose your inequities with diplomacy. And then I'm just going to try to continue the mission that he is not here to continue. Right? And that's it. So I consider myself the Sebastian Shaw of comics. If you know your Hellfire Club, you knock me down, getting my ass back up. Right.
Yeah.
And you know, that speaks to the resilience of our community as well. The comic book community is a very resilient, potent, artistic, talented community of people. And, you know, comic books go back and forth between being the cultural drivers of innovation. You know, I think Stan Lee understood that during that Marvel Age of Comics, Marvel defined what was cool. Right. Yeah. And I feel like we can do that now. Yeah. We can define what's cool. And instead of, you know, other sectors of entertainment being the horse and we're the cart, like, we're the horse. And all other forms of entertainment are the art. We're comics.
Yeah, baby.
And all that entails. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, baby. Let's get it. Now,
yeah.
I gotta ask this.
Yeah.
If Dakota City existed in the real world today, what would be the biggest challenges for its heroes?
Oh, jeez. If you read New History of the DC Universe with Dakota Incident,
noted ass question, Anna.
you would get an indication of one of the biggest challenges. Listen, you know, history has shown us what happens when communities become empowered, when they empower themselves, when they create systems for wealth and growth and continuation, and how those systems come under assault, right? How great empires rise and fall, and the resilience of humanity. So I think if Dakota City was really a city, like, the biggest issue, honestly, would be to hold it together. Because there would be so many parties that would want to destroy it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's for real. That's keeping it real for you. Like, because when you deal with all the characters in Dakota, whether it's someone who has financial means, like an Icon or a Hardware, whether that's Rocket, you know, who's now a mother, whether that's the Blood Syndicate, which were superpowered survivors from 4 different gangs who had to come together and make the one gang. No matter what their status is, their socioeconomic status, their upbringing, they love their city. They're fighting for their city. They're fighting for that land because they understand what that means. They understand that people bled for them to have that land, right? Like, your home is the most important thing. And the unfortunate thing is, people will try and take it from you.
Oh, yeah.
They will try to take your home from you. They will try to take your fortune from you. They will try to take your joy from you. And these things must be protected.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We must protect them. We must protect our homes and our land and our joy and our families and our friends and our communities. So that is what Dakota would be dealing with on a day-by-day basis. And that's just the truth. And you get a bit of a...
It really sounded like New York in the 90s when I was growing up.
Dude, listen. Listen, New York, the 90s, New York, the 80s,
80s,
when I was in high school. I mean, come on, man. But listen, but New York is still here. The cities are still here. The people are still. So that's the thing. Dakota would endure.
It would endure. There we go. Now, there's a couple more questions. I don't want to take too much more of your time, so that way you can keep creating the next new stories. I know
Oh my
are going to be coming up. Come on, man. All right, so you definitely help shape some incredible stories. But creatively speaking, what still challenges you the most as a storyteller? You're a big boss,
Wow.
but I'm sure what type of challenge you still face, though, even as a vet.
You know what it is? I feel like it's creating a story that is so compelling that even if you're not a comic book fan, if this was the first comic book you picked up, you would totally be into it, and you would understand that you are reading a representation of an art form, right? You wouldn't dismiss it. You would understand that this is storytelling that can stand up to prose, that can stand up to cinema, right? That can stand up to the theater, right? It's to make something that shows the agency of the comic book medium. So I feel like every time I'm writing, collaborating with people, developing characters, I feel like the pressure for me is to communicate the greatness and validity of this medium.
Yeah, baby. There you go. You heard that's an answer. Now,
that's it.
2 more questions.
Sure.
Before we send the fans running to the comic shop, all right?
Yes.
What do you hope readers feel when they close that last page of new history of the DC universe of the Dakota Incident?
Hope, for one. 2, so much anticipation that they bury DC Comics in letters and emails and tagging them on social media. Like, bury them and say, I want what's next now, right now. When am I getting it?
Yes,
right?
Preach.
Communicate. We can use these amazing communication mechanisms for so much. Communicate. Hey, this was cool. What's next? When is it coming? Bingo.
Tag them on every single review.
Bingo.
Every single, like, even if you're just commenting, wow, I picked it up and read it at DC Official. All right. Everywhere. Tag them, let them know you're reading, you want more.
And one more thing I'm going to say, because sometimes it's a thing that we leap over. I think we leap over gratitude a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think we're very what I want centric, right? But if you really, were touched by this book, just tag a creator that was in it, or one that you know, or one that you follow, and just say, hey, you know what? Thank you. I've seen that. The writers have seen that. Artists have seen that. It's like, they saw the love that we put into it, but it's always cool to hear it, to know, and it's not for our ego. It's to know that, hey, like, we've made a connection to you through this. This is not.
Look, hold on, man. You ain't show that sexy thing off the whole show. Look at that.
Listen. This is not just this. This is a communication vehicle from us to the book to you. This is a vehicle. That's what all these things are. That's what all these things are.
I see. You got the whole set too. The Milestone.
The 4 of them are there. A 5th one is coming this year. You got Graphic Samurai, the art of Dennis Cowan there. You've got some of my Batman editorial legacy there. You've got Black Panther written by Reginald Hudlin there. You know what I mean?
You got the good stuff, baby.
We got the stuff. So that's it. Let's remember gratitude, and then let's ask for more. Demand more.
Yes.
Demand more.
Right? Definitely. But it's true, man. A big salute to all of you that took part in the creation of this book. I'm extremely happy because I have been pushing Milestone ever since I started partying. When people are, because I always get upset when they see, I'm old school. When I see a race swap of a character that's unnecessary, when you have someone that does the same thing already, like, come on, man, let's prop up the new person. How about that? Not this bullshit that you're trying to do. Come on now. I'm just saying. With that though, Joe, I know you're busy, so let them know where you're gonna be at next, bro. What else can we get some signed copies, meet you, shake hands, and learn more, and try to get more out of you about Milestone? Come on.
That is excellent question. I did a number of signings for the first printing. I'm going to try and do a few for the second printing, and then on Whatnot, Sexual Chocolate, he has a Whatnot show, and we had a big Milestone night the Saturday after the debut of this book. So keep your eyes peeled for the Saturday after the debut of the second printing.
When you say Sexual Chocolate, that's not Mark Henry, right?
No, that goes. There's another Sexual Chocolate. You can find it. You can find not that. You're terrible. No, this one you can find on Sexual Chocolate. He's more PG.
All right. There you go. I just messing around.
Let's see, but I hope to have the opportunity to meet some more fans through this second printing, and again. Shout out to Dan Mora, man, who blessed our book with this cover. And
that cover right there. Look at that sexy thing.
Yes. Look at the three-dimensional nature of that, and Static smiling, his hand out, that lightning coming for you.
Yeah, but even though he's smiling, his eyes say F with me. Try to F with me. Look at his eyes.
Listen.
That smile says, "Come on, F around."
Yeah. F around and find out.
Fafo,
bro. Static don't joke. And now he's a college. He's older. We aged him up a bit. That was Nicholas Draper Ivy's idea. We aged him up, and
we should though. We should always age up the character, let them grow. I want to see that. They shouldn't be kids all their life. I mean, they should grow with the reader. And then let them have families and move on. I mean, DC almost attempted that, but then they wound up calling it, DC Earth 2, never mind,
Right.
Superman, Batman, everybody had kids and all that shit, It was
we were talking about George Perez. Remember when Tales of the New Titans 44 came out and Grayson debuted as Nightwing?
Oh, yeah.
We all lost our damn minds.
Oh, yeah, man.
We were like, he's no longer Robin. Like, my boy is Nightwing now.
He's his own man. I dig it, man. You see this about Joe? He's also just a fan. You see that energy, folks? This is what we're talking about. This is the type of people we got to support. Yo, Joe, for real, thank you, bro. Right here, Joe Illidge dropping wisdom bombs today on Comic Crusaders, mi familia. So listen, if you love comics, history, culture, and storytelling that actually means something, then you need to check out New History of the DC Universe, the Dakota Incident numero uno. You heard? Support the creators. Hit your local comic shop. Grab this issue. Share it with your friends. And not just with your friends, as we spoke about, share it online. Tell them how much you love you. At DC Official, tell them, tag them, let them know. And keep the legacy of Milestone alive, please.
That's right. And pre-order. You can pre-order the book now. Do not wait until April 22nd when it drops. Go to your comic book shop, call them up now and say, listen, I'm pre-ordering that book. Because that way you show the publisher the level of demand.
Demand, commitment. You want what you want, me gente. You gotta yell it out loud. And if you
That's right. Al, thank you so much
man.
for having me. Always great talking with you and talking with you on the debut of the information and release with the reveal of the second printing cover.
Yeah, man, that cover is gorgeous, folks. You better, for real. Everybody get the second prints, the third, the fourth prints when they start popping. Get everything. Demand more. And if you're rocking with us here at Comic Crew celebrating 20 years this year, you heard, make sure you subscribe, you share.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you, baby. And you spread the word because we're bringing you the creators that are shaping the future of comics. So stay legendary, stay creative, and keep crusading, mi gente. Wepa!
Thank you for listening to the Comic Crusaders podcast. If you like the content, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, please visit comiccrusaders.shop and our extended podcast family over at undercovercapes.com. And also, make sure to download the Comic Crusaders app on the Google Play Store today.